Hello everyone, welcome to Laravel. My name is William Juma. In this video series, I want us to learn how to create a Laravel package using Composer. Packages are a way of adding functionality to a Laravel application. In this tutorial, we will learn how to create a Laravel package. We will be creating a package for a contact form, which will save the client's message or the user who visits our website, the message they type in the contact form in the database. And we will also send an email to the website owner for them to be notified that there is a query or something that the customer or client is inquiring about. So basically that is what I will be working on. We will do several videos, but in this first video, I want us to do sort of the initial setup such that our package will be up and running. And now for us to be able to create a Laravel package, there are several ways in which you can be able to do it. We can use the as-party Laravel skeleton, or we can also just use another a full installation of a Laravel application and then be able to configure and go all the way and be able to work it out. So this is the method that I would like us to do. I have a newly installed Laravel package, Laravel application, and this is Laravel 10, and I want us to continue and see how we can be able to just create our package. So the first thing that we need to do is to create a folder or several directories. So I will just scroll downward here and right click, and I will say new folder. And I want us to have a folder called packages. Inside this folder, I want us to have another folder called Laravel. So this one is sort of like the vendor name, or in other words, the name of maybe the company that is creating the package or something of that sort. So Laravel, and then our package is called contact form. And then we also need the source folder, src. So basically that is what we are going to have. So packages, Laravel, and then let me just extend such that you can be able to see, then contact form, and then src. So these are folders within a folder like that. I want us to go ahead and navigate to this contact form, and then we can be able to initialize Composer. But just to explain, as I've mentioned, we will have the packages, and then we will have the next folder inside the packages folder is a folder maybe for the company name or something. And then inside that we will have a folder called contact form. And then inside the contact form we will have the source folder. So I want to just navigate using the terminal to our contact form directory. So I will just open terminal here, and what I'm going to do, I will do cd. So we change directory, and then we will go to packages, Laravel, contact form. After that, while inside this directory, we can be able to run Composer in it to initialize our package. So it's asking us for the package name. So in our package name, we have called it Laravel, and then / contact form, like that. So I hit enter. Description, we can say probably something like Laravel contact form package, something of that, just anything descriptive for the package. Then the author name, as you can see, it's picking some of the things from my machine, but in this case maybe I can just say William Juma. Stability, we can say dev. Package type, maybe let's just call it package. License, we can say MIT. And then it is asking us to define our dependencies. We will actually be using several dependencies in our application, but I want us to include them when we reach there. So I'm just going to hit enter and continue hitting enter. And now what has happened is that inside our directories is something that has been added. So if we check our the package that is called contact form, the folder that is called contact form, now we have vendor and composer.json and the source file. Of course, the vendor will be the one that you manage our dependencies. And then inside our composer.json, this is what we have. The next thing that we need to do is to create a service provider. PHP artisan make provider. And then we can give the name of our provider. So I'm going to call it contact form service provider, like that. I will hit enter. And this, you actually create the provider inside app providers. You can see we have contact form service provider. And what we need to do is to move this provider from here inside the source folder. So I'm going to just pick it like this and drop it inside our source folder, like that. Then we can go ahead and do a namespacing of our provider. So in this case, we can say the namespace will be Laravel contact form, like that. So that will be the correct namespace. And remember, that is the vendor stroke package name that we were having there. Now inside our provider, we have two methods. We have register, and then we also have the boot method, the bootstrapping method. And so the register method is used to bind things to the service container. And then, of course, the boot method can be used to load and also even publish whatever it is that you'd like to publish. So the views, the migrations, everything that you would want to do apart from what the register method does. So basically, that is what we have. And now for us to be able to discover this service provider automatically, normally you must register your service provider inside the app, inside config app. So if we go to config app, then here is where you're supposed to register your providers. But sometimes you can be able to have the provider to be auto-discovered. And that is what I would like us to do. I want us to have a provider that will be auto-discovered. So what we are going to do here, we will not require the user of our package to definitely come and have it here. We can be able to just have it auto-discovered. So I will open our package composer.json, and maybe after we have the auto loading, we can be able to have a field that we are going to call extra. And here we can go ahead and pass in the provider. So we will have Laravel, and then after that, then inside here, we can be able to pass in providers. And then this one we will pass in as an array of values. So here we can pass in the providers, and we can also pass in the aliases. So inside here, we can have Laravel, and then the / contact form, and then we can now talk about our contact form service provider. So contact form service provider, like that. I think that you'll be able to make our service provider auto-discovered. Then after doing that, then we need to go ahead and link our package to the Laravel app that we're having here, such that we can be able to use it, because now our package is being developed locally, and we do not have it somewhere in the Git hub or something of that sort, so where we can be able to download and install it. So because of that, we have to configure it inside our composer.json. So I will open the composer.json now, not for the package, but for the Laravel application that we have here. And then inside the place where we have require, we can be able to include the package that we have. So after we have Laravel Tinker, I can be able to add our package. So here we can say it is called Larafont, and then we are calling it contact form. And then we can have it as the version. We can just say dev-main. After that, we also need to link it. In a way, our application will be able to know where our package is. So probably after the scripts, down here, repositories, like that, and then we will have an array of values, and inside here we can be able to have the type, and the type we will have it as a path. After that, we will have the URL, and for the URL we are going to have the full link to our package. So we have packages Larafont like that. So in this case we can have packages /Larafont /contact form. And then we will also have options. The value that you have inside here is that we want it to be a symlink, and we are going to set it to true. We still need to have, I think there's a problem here. We need to have these values in curly braces like that. So basically that is how it looks. Now for us to be able to check if everything is working, we can attempt to install our package. What I'm going to do, I'm going to say composer update. If everything is okay, then we'll be able to have our package sort of linked or sort of installed. Now you can see we are having the installation of Larafont contact form. So meaning everything is okay up to where we have reached. And now after doing that, I want us to just run our application, PHP artisan serve. Then we can open it in Google Chrome. Then we will visit localhost 8000 to load our application. Now you can see our Laravel application is loading fine. But of course, this is expected because what it is that we have added is what we are not sure if it is being loaded. And so I want us to just go and check if that is the case. So I want to go to Larafont, and then we can go to the service provider. And just to check that even this package of ours is being loaded, I can just do inside the boot method, I will just do dd123. And when I do that, if I am to refresh, now you can see we are having 1, 2, 3. That means our package is being loaded exactly the way we want it to be loaded. And then we can now be able to continue doing every other thing regarding this specific package. In this video, we are continuing with the series of creating a Laravel package. In our previous episode, we did do an initial setup, and this is where we had reached. We were able to set up the contact form service provider, and we were able to just check that everything was working accordingly. In this video, I want us to create a form and then have it as a view, and then also submit something and save to the database. So we are going to do several things in just sorting out the concept of our Laravel package, that is the contact form package. So let us go right into it and continue and do some more things. I would first of all want to look at how we can be able to do routing. So what I want us to do, I want us to, inside the contact form directory, that is where I want us to have a folder which I'm going to call routes. And so inside here, I'm going to have a file that we will call web.php. And so this will be our routing file. And then we will have the PHP tag. And it is also important to ensure that we have included the route facade. So in this case, we can have use, illuminate, and then support, facades, and then route, like that. So basically that is how we can be able to load the route. And then I want us to have a route. So let me go and create a route. And this route will be the one that will be showing our create form for the contact page in the website. But for now, I just want it to be a get route. We will modify in due time. I just want to see if we can be able to actually get a hold of it. So let me just call it contact. And then maybe here we can just say function and then return view, or maybe just return 1, 2, 3. And now we actually have a route. So let us go ahead and see how we can be able to load this route. And where we are going to load our route is in our, we will click on the source folder and then open the service provider that we created in the previous tutorial video. So I open the contact form service provider, and inside the boot method, I would like to comment whatever it is that we have there. And here we can just say this load routes, and then we can say from this load routes from, and inside here we can have underscore, we talk about the directory. So in this case we have the directory, and then we can so you have a full stop, and then we can be able to load our routes. So in this case we can say we will go back one folder and then go to routes and then web.php. So basically that is how we will load our routes. And I would like us to just check and see if it is actually possible for us to have access to that route. So I refresh, and this, you clear everything out. I want to visit a route that is called contact. Now you can see we have 1, 2, 3, so meaning the route is being loaded perfectly. But in this case, I do not want to use the route in this fashion. I want us to load our route from a controller method. So we will go ahead and also create a controller and go on like that. So the controller, we are going to create it inside the source folder. So inside here, I want us to have a folder that we are going to call HTTP controllers, like that. So, and then inside here, I want us to have a new file that we are going to call contact form controller, like that, .php. And now inside our controller, what we are going to have, we are going to have the PHP tag. And then the first thing that we need to do is to namespace. So we are going to say namespace, and we will have Laravel. That was a vendor name. Then we will have contact form. If you did watch the previous video, this is the vendor name and the package name. Then of course now we can go to HTTP folder, which we have created, and then now controllers, like that. So that will be our namespace. I have done the forward slash. It's supposed to be backward slash, and that's okay. So inside here we can have our class, and we will have contact. It's supposed to be exactly the way we typed it, contact form controller, and then we can say it extends the base controller. So that is what we have. But of course, we are talking about base controller, which we haven't imported here. So we can just say use illuminate routing controller as our base controller. So basically, this is how our controller will look like, and I want us to have a controller method. So I'm going to have a public function, and I'm just going to call it create. I just want us to say return 1, 2, 3 again in a similar fashion. And now I want us to go back to our web.php. Now instead of having the controller loaded, the route loaded like that, we can now be able to pass in our controller method. And so we are going to have use above here, use Laravel contact form, and then HTTP, and then controllers, then of course contact form controller, like that. And then here we can be able to just pass in the contact form controller class, and then state the method, which I think we have named create. So basically that is how our controller is supposed to be loaded. And I want us to try it out and see. And again, you can see it's giving us 1, 2, 3. We just want to be sure. We can be able to change our 1, 2, 3 to 3, 4, 5, something. If we are to save and attempt to refresh, now you can see 3, 4, 5, so everything is okay. And we can be able to hit this controller method. I want us to now look at how to create the views and also be in a position to load them. So outside the source folder, inside this contact form directory, is where I want us to have a new folder, which I'm going to call resources, and then views, like that. So that is our directory. And inside here, I want us to have a new file, which I would like to call it the create.blade, because create.blade.php. So just the normal way in which you will do a Laravel blade file. And I would like to do a little bit of a shortcut on some issues, because if we were to just continue the way we are continuing, we might find that the video is a bit too long. I want to do some shortcuts somewhere, and I think the implementation would not be very difficult if you would want now to work without the shortcut. But let me just do this such that I can be able to move a little bit faster. So I'm going to just scaffold HTML5 document, and maybe I will call it contact form for the title. And then now, if we are to now call this view, we can go to our service provider again. So the contact form service provider, and I want us now to load the views. And so what we are going to do, we are going to just have here this load views from, and again in a similar fashion we have the directory, and then we can be able to just pass in where it is that we are getting our views from. So you go back one folder, and then we are saying resources. So in this case, we are moving outside the source folder, and outside it, we are finding our resources, and then views, resources views. But in this case, we need to have two arguments. The second argument is the name of our package. So in this case, we can say contact form. So after we do it like this, we can actually be able to load the view. And now, the next thing that we need to do is to go to our controller, that is the contact form controller. And inside here, I want us to return view now. We are not going to return 3, 4, 5. We're going to return a view. And that is a view that we have created. So I'm going to pass in contact form. So in this case, in quotation marks, contact form. Remember, that is what we have written here. So the way we have referenced how our views will be gotten. So exactly the way that you have here, that is how you are going to reference it in our controller method. And then we use double colon, and then the name of our view. So our view is called create.blade.php. Basically, that is how we can be able to load views when you are working with you're creating a Laravel package. Remember, this is just one way of doing it. There is another way in which you can be able to do it, and you can be able to have it in this case whereby the views will be published to the Laravel application, the scaffolding, and it will not remain inside the package. So that is another way in which you can be able to do it. I do not want to cover both the scenarios. In this case, I'm not interested in maybe confusing anybody. So because of that, just let me stick to one way. So if I refresh, now you can see above here we have contact form. So meaning our view is actually being loaded perfectly. For purposes of CSS, I would like to just go to Tailwind CSS and just get the Tailwind CSS CDN. I would like to just do very little work on the formatting of everything. So allow me to take some shortcuts, please. And so this one I'm going to copy, and then inside our views, so we have create.blade inside here. What I want to do is I want to pass in our CSS link. And now we can be able to probably look for a contact form online. So contact form Tailwind CSS. Let me see what I'm going to get. And so let me check this one so you can check from the Tailwind components. And I think this one is okay. Let us work with this one here. So what I'm going to do is just to copy, and I'm going to paste that piece of code inside here. And so if we go back to our contact form and refresh, now you can see we have a nice form that we can be able to work with. And basically, this one can only work if you're connected to the internet. If you're not connected to the internet, it will be a little bit jumbled up, but it doesn't really matter. You can still be able to just follow with what we are doing. So after doing that, I want us to go ahead and be able to submit our form, because now we have a form, and I want us to just open the form and just scroll upwards here and look at the method to which the form has been submitted. So inside for the action, we are going to change this, and we are going to call the controller method with which the route with which we are going to submit. Called the route submit message, not very descriptive. And then of course we can have the CSRF protection for our form. And then I want us to go to our web.php, and I want us to create another route. And this route should be a post route, because that is what we have in our form. So route post, and here I want it to be submit, because that is what I have stated there, submit, and then / message. And then I also want this one to hit our contact form controller. So again, in a similar fashion, contact form controller class, and then the method, I want us to call it store, and then we will close that one like that. Of course, we have not created this method. I want us to go to the contact form controller and have another method here. We are going to have public function, and inside here we are going to have maybe public function store, and then we can use dependency injection to obtain the request data. So request like that, and above here maybe we can say use illuminate, and then HTTP request. I believe that is how it's supposed to be. And here we can just say return request all. We see what is going to happen. So since our form is nicely formatted, As we can see, also for the form, we have the type, the name, and all that, and then the placeholder, and so on and so forth. So it means we can actually attempt to submit this form. So I want to just submit without anything and see what happens. Now we're having that the token is null, the name is null, and then the email is null, the subject is null, the message is null. So basically we are able to submit everything to our controller. I want us now to go ahead and maybe do validation inside our contact form controller. So we can be able to do validation, and here we will say validated. We can say is equals to request validate. And inside here we can have an array of our values. In this case, we can say that the name, so that is the name of the person that is submitting the contact form. This one we can say that it is required, and maybe say maximum 255, something of that sort. Then we can copy this one downwards, and then we will have the email. Then we can say that we also require it to be an email. And then we have the subject. Still also for the subject, we want it to have a maximum of 255. And then the last one is message. And for the message is required, we can just leave it at that. So we have done our validation, and that is okay. And now what we end up with is another question. How are we going to submit this request and save it in the database? So that is the next thing that we are going to work on. And so what I need to do is to create a route, to create a model and a migration. So let us go ahead and do that. For us to create a model, I'm just going to create the model in the normal way. You create it inside app models above here, and then we can be able to move it. So let me create inside our source, the package source folder. I want us to create another folder that I want us to call models. But in this case, in our application, we're just going to have one model. So here I'm going to do PHP artisan make model. The name of our model, let me just call it contact, like that. And I also want to tag that it also creates a migration for us. So we have a model and we have a migration. So if I open database, let me begin with the model first, because we already have where we are going to put it. So we have a model above here which is called contact. So I want to just drag and drop it down here where we have models. So inside this folder, so you have contact.php. And then of course we need to namespace it. So in this case we will have Laravel, and then contact form, I think it's contact form, small letters like that. And then models, that is how we namespaced our app. And then after that, I think this one is okay. We can also go ahead and create a folder for the migration. And the migration, we will create it outside the source folder. So we are going to create it inside the contact form. And inside here, we can say new folder. We are going to have database, and then migrations, I think. So / migration to create the two directories. And then we can go inside our database folder up here. Let me close the app folder such that we can be able to view the migrations folder. So I open the migration. And the last migration is actually the migration that we need. So let me copy it. Let me just drag and drop inside the migration folder. So we have it inside here. That one is good enough. So the next thing that we need to do is to load our migration and also probably just modify it. So of course, for our contact, we need a table with a data type of string. And the first thing that we need is a name. So the name of the person that is trying to contact us. And then we also need the email. And then we will need the subject. And then we will also need the message. And for the message, we can have the data type as text. Then of course, I think we do not need this last line. Now we need to load our migrations also the same way we have loaded the routes and we have loaded the views. So we will still go to our service provider and now load the migration. So let me close every other directory here. So you close this one such that we can be able to just view what we need. So I open the contact form service provider, and down here I want us to now load our migration. So here we can say this, load migrations from, this load migrations from, and again we will have the directory, and then we can be able to state the location of our migration. So again, we are moving one folder outside, and then we have database, and then we have migrations. So that is the folder that has the migrations. And once we do that, now if we are to connect our application to the database, so let me go ahead and do that. So I will call, we will open the env file, and inside here I want us to change the name of our database, and let us call it contact form, like that. So that is the name of our database. And then I want to also run XAMPP. So once XAMPP is running, we can go ahead and run PHP artisan migrate, and you will see that even the migration that we have loaded just now will be migrated. So PHP artisan migrate. And of course, because we do not have that database, we are going to be asked to create it. I will just click yes. And now you can see we have the normal migrations, users, password, resets, failed jobs, and then contacts table. And this is the one that we have actually loaded from our package. So basically, if one runs the migration, our package will also be able to persist the migrations that we created here inside the database. And that is good enough. So now I want us to go ahead and see how we can be able to save the message that is typed in now inside our controller. So after we have done the validation, I want us to go ahead and save, because we need to import the model above here. And so what we are going to type in, we are going to say use. So we're going to use the model that we have created. And so we will use the namespace the way we have it. So Laravel, and then contact form. And then after that, we can have models. And then the name of our model, I think it's called contact, like that. So that will load our model. We can actually go ahead and now just save our new message. So we can say contact. We call that model. We can say create. And inside here, we just pass in validated that way. And that we'll be able to save our message, in this case, that the user decided to type in. But we also need to do something small inside the model. So I open the contact model, and we need to just allow mass assignment. So we can say protected and fillable. And then inside here, we can have name, email, subject, message. Those are the values that we have in our database. And now I want us to attempt and see if we can actually be in a position to save something in the database. And I'd like to just open our database here. And as it opens, I would like to type in a name, so we can say James at gmail.com, and then the subject, my subject, and then for the message we can say my message. When we submit, we have the message submitted, and I want to go to the database and check our contact form database and check inside here if we have a message. And actually you can see we actually have a message that has been sent. There are a few things that I would like to handle, and I would like to handle a little bit of validation and some things of that sort. So after we have saved our message in the database, I want us to redirect. So we can just say return back. We can say with. So this one is a flash messaging, and we can have success, and then we can say inquiry sent, something of that sort. Please wait for response. And so if I'm to submit again, now it will return us to the same page that we were at. So even if like that, if we are to type in something else, so William, and then William at example, and then a subject, and then message. If we submit now, you can see we'll be redirected back to the same page, even though the form will be cleared. I want us to just work on how we can be able to do the flash messaging and also handle the validation errors. And so I want us to open the form again, create.blade, and inside here I want us to handle the validation errors for each of the inputs that we have. So here we can have at error, let me just use at error, and then at end error, and this one I believe will cause us some problem, but we will attempt to see how we can be able to solve it. So we can check the error for the first item, which is name, or the input field that is name, and here we can have a div, and then we can pass in the error message. It's just purely validation like that, and here we can have a class of maybe text red, maybe we can say red 800 like that, so it will display some reddish message. But once I do that, we have undefined variable errors, and how we can be able to sort that, we can be able to wrap our routes with maybe the two middlewares, that is web middleware and the guest middleware. So we can say route, and then we can say middleware like that, and then inside here we have two middlewares. We can pass an array of middleware. So the first one is guest, and the other middleware is web. Then we will have it as a group function, and then we will pass in our values here. So let me just cut, or let me just have it like that and create some space and just copy our routes and paste them inside there. I think that would be the best way to do it. So we can cut that and paste our routes inside here, just to solve that issue, and also some issues with the flash messaging. So it will solve two problems for us once you have it like that. So if I'm to refresh, now you can see we're having it like that, and if I attempt to submit, of course we are having an error on the name field because that's the only one that we have worked with. And so I want us to go back to create.blade, and inside here I want us to just copy whatever it is that we have for the validation errors for name, and I want us to go and also pass them in, and now we get validation for email, and then we will scroll and have validation for the subject, and then scroll one more time, and then do the validation for the message. So in this case, if we are to refresh again and now attempt to submit, now what is happening? We are getting validation errors for all the fields. I also want us to handle the alerts, and I also just want us to have an alert here, because inside our controller method, in our contact form controller, we are returning back with success inquiry sent. So I want us to also be able to display some alert here, and I just want to just search Tailwind CSS alerts. I do not want to type everything. I just want to go to the official Tailwind, and maybe this first one is good enough. We can pick the code and come and paste it in our create.blade. So I'll just scroll upwards and paste it maybe immediately before we have the form here, and save. Since whatever it is that we have is a success message, I would like to sort of modify some things. So the background should be green. I'm changing, and then also this one green. So anywhere we have red, we are replacing with green, even for the text. And then have I replaced everything? Let me see. Yes, we also have that text red here. I can say green like that. I hope I have replaced everything. Now, if we are to, because we have not been able to load it properly, right now it has to show. I just want to see how it looks like. Now it looks like that. And now here we can say success like that. And then here we can be able to pass the session message. So session success. Then we will use the newly created Laravel session blade variable. So at session success, so whenever we have the key that is called success, and here we can have at end session. Now if we are to refresh again and attempt and submit another message, so we can say John, and John at h.com, and then a subject, my new subject. Then here we can say my very new message. And if we attempt to submit, now you can see success inquiry sent. We will continue in our next video and also send an email on top of whatever it is that you're having here. And I think that will assist us to be able to pick some configuration values from our env into our package and be able to use those values. For example, the configuration values for the email, and be able to do the sending of the email. In this video, I would like us to send an email after a user has submitted a question on our contact page. In our previous session, we were able to save the customer message, and we were able to get the success message from it. Now, I would like us to send an email. And so, because this is a package, we require to fetch the email of the person that is supposed to receive all emails sent from the clients once they click on the contact form. And so this means we will require to have a config folder whereby we will have the email typed inside our environment file. So let us go ahead and see how to do that. So inside our contact form directory, that is outside the source. So just inside this directory here, I want us to have a folder that we're going to call config. And inside it, we can have the file that will be our configuration file. We can even call it config.php. And here we just have the PHP tag. Then we will return an array of values. And inside here is where we will put our configuration values. And what I actually need is just an email. So I'm going to call the key of this config value. I'm going to call it admin_email. And this configuration file will be fetching an env value, so the environment variable file. And I want us to call that environment variable admin email. So if it is your website that is using this package for per se, then we want you to input your email in a variable called admin email in the environment file. So I would like to copy this. Before I go to paste it there, I will also just set, in case this value has not been set, it will be set to empty and so on and so forth. And then you can be able to handle any exceptions that may arise from that. So I would like us to go to our environment file, and then below here we need to have the admin email, and we are going to set its value to an email here. So I'm going to call it william@example.com. So that will be the email that we require set inside our environment file. So in this case, this will be the email that we'll be sending our emails to. After that, we need to have a way in which this config file will be published, as it cannot be able to be useful when it is inside our package. So it needs to be published and its values copied to the directory that we call config here. This directory now where it has all the Laravel configuration files. So for us to be able to do that, I need to go to our contact form service provider. And inside here, I would like us to load the new config file that we have created. And so what we are going to do is that we are going to say this publishes, and then we will have an array, and inside here we are going to have directory, and then we will look at a folder outside the source folder. So then config, that is the config folder, this one here. So if we open our package, we have the config folder here, and inside it we have a file that is called config.php. So you have config.php, and then so that file is the one that we want to publish to the config path of our Laravel application, config_path. And as I've shown, it you publish inside the config directory now inside our Laravel application above here, this directory here. And so we can say which name we want it to be published with. So in this case, I can say we want to call it contact form.php. So that is the name of the file. But we also need to have a tag. When you publish, you usually publish and then you tag as the name of the configuration. So that is what I want us to pass here. And what I want us to have it here is contact form-config. And you just see the contact form config just now because I want us to go ahead and see if we can be able to publish this configuration file. So I want to open terminal. We can publish it directly, or we can even just say php artisan vendor :publish. And once we hit enter, it's going to list everything that we can be able to publish. And now you can see we have something that has a tag that is called contact form config. And that is exactly what we're having here, contact form config. So basically we can just check which number it is. It's actually number 10 among them. So I will just type in here 10. And now our contact for config has been published. And now if we go to check now inside the Laravel config directory, this one here, then you can see we have contact form.php, and it has exactly what it is that we were able to pass in as the values that we require. So basically that is that. So that is how you work with configuration files. I want us now to go ahead and see how we can be able to pass in this value and also use it to send an email. And for us to be able to send an email, we can create a mailing class. So here I can run the command php artisan make mail, and I want to call it inquiry email, like that. So it will create for us a mailing class. But remember that one is not created inside our package. This command will create it inside the app mail. So if we check inside app, we can be able to see that we have a directory called mail, and then we have that. So I would like us to move the whole directory. So I want us to move it, the whole of it, and I want it to be inside the source folder, like that. So that mail directory, we have moved it here, and I want to open it and do a namespace. So in this case, we are going to namespace, and we will namespace Larafont, and then contact form, and then mail. So basically that is that. And now I want us to go ahead and dispatch, or in this case, send that email. So I will go to our controller. So in this case, HTTP contact form controller. And down here, we are creating we are saving whatever it is that the customer has created as a message for us. And we are saving inside the variable validated, and we are saving it in the database. I also want us to, at the same time, be able to send a message to an email to the admin email that we have suggested. So basically what we are going to do, we are going to call the config value for our contact form config. So down here, maybe giving it some space, I want us to have a variable which I'm going to call admin underscore email. And this one, you read a value. So I put a \config, and then we'll be able to look inside the configuration file that is called contact form. And then the value that we are going to look for is admin underscore email. I believe that is how we did have it. And sometimes you may find that this admin email probably has not been set. In the env, there's no value that is called admin email in the env. And also its email has not been set. So we need to maybe find a way in which we can be able to check. So here maybe I can just say if admin email is equals to null, that means the admin email has not been set in the env. And we can also check or, so both the circumstances whereby the admin email is set like that, because if you check here, we have also set that if the value does not exist in our config, so if this value does not exist, we will take it as an empty string. So if it's an empty string also, we will not be able to send our email. So if these two conditions are there, so we can just handle them here. And what I need to do, I will just echo echo, we can say the value of admin email not set. And then after that, we can be able to say at else. And when we are looking at now this else, then we can be able to go ahead and send our email. But this is not the best way of handling it. We probably would need to handle it using an exception. Maybe with the time I'll be able to do that. But even if I do not do it, you can be able to just try and find out. But I'll try and do an exception, and then we can be able to just handle this. Maybe we can call it admin email exception, just like that. And so if a client calls and they say they are trying to work on your website and maybe that is what they're getting, then you can be able to know what to tell them. But of course, at the end of everything, if you have app debug set to false, you just throw a 500 error. But if you find out, you can be able to see what exception was being sent at that specific point. So that aside, let us first of all go ahead and do the sending of the email. So in this case, we can import above here several things. So the first thing that we need is to use Laravel. We need to use our mailing class. So in this case, contact form. And then we can say, I think we called it inquiry email. So we need to import that. And we also need to import the mail facade. So in this case, we can say use illuminate support facades and then mail, like that. So once we have imported that, we can be able to just send our email. So in this case, we can say mail to, and this email, we are just going to send it to the admin email. So if it is set, because now we have checked the conditions when it's not set. So now if we are able to reach here, then the admin email is set, then we can be able to send. So we can say send, and then we can call in our inquiry email. So new inquiry email, and then we can be able to pass any data that we would like to pass in. And I think it is good for us to pass this validated variable because it has everything that is concerned about the message that has been sent by our client. So basically, that is how it is. And now I want us to go to our mail class inside here. And what I need to do, we have passed in a variable called validated. I can be able to use the validated variable here. So public, we can say public validated, like that, and then continue. But would you please allow me to just call it data, such that I do not go too much. And inside here, we can just say dd data, like that, to see if we are able to actually reach this place. So I want to again attempt to submit a new message. So I say Tom, and then t at example.net, and then the subject, we can say subject, and then the message, we can say message, like that. So if I click submit, we are having that inquiry email not found. So let me go ahead and check that. So we have mail. The problem is actually how I have namespaced it here. So use Laravel contact form inquiry email. I think that is where the problem is. It's supposed to be mail and then inquiry email, like that. So basically that is where we were having the error. Now, if we are to refresh, and now you can see now we are passing in an array of values to our inquiry email. Now I want us to go ahead and see what we will do after that. So let us see what happens. I want to go to the inquiry email. We can be able to remove whatever it is that we are doing as dd here. Whatever we are dumping, we can be able to remove that. And then now, inside our envelope, as you can see, we need to have the subject. And our subject is called inquiry email, but I think this is by default. but I want us to set a value to it. So in this case, we can set the subject by referencing whatever it is that we have here, because what we have here is data. So we can say data, and then we get the subject. Because as you can be able to see, we have, among whatever it is that you're passing in this data array, we have subject, we have email, and we have name, and we have message. So basically those ones are the ones that we need to pass in. On top of that, inside the view, we need to create a view inside our resources. So I will go to the resources folder and right click, and inside there I want us to have a new folder which I want to call emails, and this emails has to be inside views, not inside resources. So inside views we need to have emails, and inside here we can have inquiry email.bled.php. After that, we can be able to open our inquiry email, be able to just pass in some simple HTML. So what I want us to have is hello admin, and we can have a BR tag. We can break and say this is customers inquiry message. I'm just doing something very basic. If you want to know how to sort this out, you can check Markdown, and you can also be able to use just custom HTML to be able to create a nice email template. And then after that, we need to have the name of the person sending the email. And here we can be able to access from the data property name, and then we can be able to copy this one downwards, and then we have email data email, and then we have message data message, like that. So we can remove this last one, and just maybe to just have some sort of styling, we can be able to just send each value to a new line. I still need to go to our email, our mail class, inquiry email, and here in our view, we need to put in the view, which is now inquiry email. And so what we are going to have, we are going to write here contact form. You remember the way we did the views? So contact form. We have dealt with views in a previous video, and we did something of this sort. And then now we can talk about the directory. So emails dot inquiry email, like that, .bled.php. So we do not need to add that. And we also need to pass in data. We actually do not need to pass in the data, because the data is already passed in the constructor. We can just have it like that. Or maybe let's just have it here. So we can say data, and we can say this data, like that. So after we have those two, then we can be able to go ahead and see if we can be able to send this email. And what I want us to use for just purposes of testing our email, I'm going to use Mailtrap, and I'm going to log in. So if you have not created an account with Mailtrap, you can go ahead and add your email and do all those things. And after you do that, you can be able to come to inboxes. So if you click inboxes and then click on settings, this will take you to the setting that you have for your values. So I can be able to just click choose in this drop down that has integrations. I want to choose Laravel 9+, and we have the details here. So we have the DB host, mail username up until password. I want to go to our env directory. So we go to env, and I want to scroll upwards to where we have mailing, and I need to replace up until where we're having the passwords, like that. So we replace everything up until where we have the passwords. And because this one is a little bit hashed, I can still go back to what we have. I can click on show credentials. How you get my password, how you copy it, and then come and paste it here. So if you create your own Mailtrap account, you'll be able to get also your passwords. So basically that is what we have. And now, because we have been able to set every other thing, I want us to just go ahead and try and refresh this and see if we are going to send our email. So we refresh and we have undefined variable data, and that one is coming from, yes, we need to reference it with this data, not just data like that. So let me go back and do a correction for that. So I go to inside our packages, and then we will go to mail and inquiry email, and whatever it is that we have in the subject, we're supposed to reference it using this. So like that, this data, that way. And so I want us to refresh again and see if it sends an email. Non-parameter data. So let me see. Let me check if it can work if we remove it completely. So let me remove it completely, because I think if you set in the constructor, it will be able to be picked. So refresh again, continue. Now it seems something is happening, and we have sent the email successfully. If I open Mailtrap, you'll find that we have a new email, and it is this one here that is being sent to william@example.com. And let us see what data we have inside. You can see we have all the data. So as I said, what you have here, you do not need to pass in the data also inside the new content. Once you have the data property in the constructor, you can be able to access it directly inside your views. Thank you very much for following this tutorial video up until this point. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing. In this video episode, I would like us to publish our Laravel package. In this case, the contact form package that we've been developing, we want to publish it to GitHub and also to packages. So that is what it is that we'll be doing in this video episode. So let me go ahead and start. There's a few additions that I would like us to have inside our folder, and so the first thing is a file that we call gitignore, a file like this one. So we can even just copy it and then paste it inside here. So I want to paste inside contact, paste like that. And so we have the gitignore. But of course, every other thing that is inside here we do not need. So we can remove .vs code, PHP unit, so on and so forth. I only want to leave vendor. So every other thing I can remove, and we just have the vendor folder added in gitignore. And then we also might need a file that we have the README instructions for our application. So basically some instructions on how to install and all that. I may not go into writing anything to this file, but of course it's the file that you can be able to work with to put in your README. So I would like to create a file down here, and I want to call it readme.md, like that. And so that will be the README file, and maybe we can type in something here. Hey, you, just to see if whatever it is that we have there will be published as we publish our application. The next thing that I need to do is to navigate to the folder that has our package. So in this case, we are in the root folder of a Laravel application. And now I want us to hop into the package. So I'm going to have cd packages, Larafant, and then contact form. So that is where I want us to be. So we are inside that folder. And what I want us to do is to initialize a Git repository. So I'm going to have Git in it. Then we can have Git checkout -b main. So we have switched to the main branch. And then we can add Git add after that, then we can have our commit, git commit -m, and we can say first commit. And then after that, as we hit enter, to commit our project. And then now we can be able to tag the version. So git tag. And in this case, our version, since it's a first publishing, then it should be 1.0.0. Then we can hit enter. After that, we need to go to GitHub. I have created a new repository. Not sure if it will work exactly with my application. I might have some time to do some housekeeping. But I want to create a new repository, and I will call it contact form, like that. So again, the name of our package, or maybe I can call it contact form package or something of that sort. And then I will set the visibility of this repository to public and create the repository. So after that, we have created it. We can be able to add the remote. So I'll just copy this, and add it here. So git remote add, and then we can have, let me just clear, git push -u origin -all. Again, we are still getting 403. The problem was occurring because of permission issues. I was posting from one repository, from one GitHub account to a different repository, yet I had not invited this other account to allow it to be able to participate in these postings. So basically, now we have everything pushed to GitHub. So I would like us to just refresh and see. Now you can see our project is there. And we also have the README that I did type in. After that, we need to go to packagist.org and then add the URL of this project of ours. So we will just visit Packagist. And since I've not been able to create an account, I will give myself some time to do the creation of an account. So you click on create account and then go ahead and create and verify. So I will pause temporarily, as you can also be doing the same if you do not have an account. But if you have an account, you just come to sign in and continue like that. So let me just create an account here and then we continue. Now what we are going to do, we are going to click on submit and then copy our link here, the one that links to our package, and then we will paste it here and check. If everything is fine, then we can be able to submit. So we can go ahead and submit. We can first of all test if we can be able to install the package. Hey everyone, let us test our Laravel contact form package and see if we can be able to now install it using Composer. This is a new Laravel 10 application. And so I would like us to go ahead and see if we can be able to install our package. So I'm going to run Composer require Laravel /contact form. And that command is actually installing our package. And now, as opposed to what we were doing previously when we were installing it from just within our Laravel application, this one is now downloading everything from Packagist. And then we are having it there. There's something that I didn't talk about, so I would like to just mention that for purposes of continuity. In GitHub, you have to do a release. This one I did offline, so it's good for me to mention. So if you go to your package, then on this side here, you must create a release. So if you want to create a release, you click here. In fact, if you haven't created, it will tell you there are no releases yet. But this one I have created several releases. So then after that, you can be able to go to that specific release, I think. Yes, once you click on edit, you can be able to change this to a different version. So for example, I can change it to 0.3 like that. And this, of course, will be if there is something that you have updated. And then now you can be able to have the title of the release and then some description here. So for example, you have improved bugs and whatever, then you can be able to change that. So basically that is the case. And if you can be able to look into versioning, you can be able to know what these values mean. You can be able to change the last digit or the last value in the decimals for very small minor changes, and change this one for major changes, this last one here. But you can check the versioning instructions and you can be able to have that. So we can update the release. So once you update the release, now everything will be okay. But if you find that you are having dev master, now you can be able to just compose update, and then you have the version. So in this case, our version is 1.0. I have set up our env. I have connected it to Mailtrap, as we did in the previous video that we did talk about. So we have the credentials added, and I also have the admin email below here. So I have almost everything that can assist me to be able to work with this. But we need to do one more thing. We need to publish the config file. So in this case, we can say php artisan vendor publish, like that. And then maybe we can have a tag. Remember, we did actually put a tag in our application, and I think we called it contact form hyphen config. I think that is what we called our tag. So if you hit enter, now you can see it has published the configuration file. But of course, you can just say php artisan vendor publish, and then you can be able to search, as we did previously in a previous video. So if we look at our config file, it has a file called contact form, and we are passing in our email like that. And of course, it's picking it from env. The next thing that we are supposed to do is to run migration, php artisan migrate. We do not have our XAMPP connected, so let me just do that. Then we can clear and then repeat that command, php artisan migrate. Now it's asking us that the database does not exist. We can decide to create it. Now you see the migrations. We have the normal migrations, and on top of that we have the migration for our package, which is the contacts table. So basically that is it. And I think once we have it like that, we can be able to use our application. So I would like to, application is already running on port 8000 here. And so we can be able to go ahead and attempt to run it. So we can have localhost 8000 and then visit contact like that. And you can see we have our form. Even when I attempt to click submit, you have the validation showing. And here we can say that my name is William, and the email is william@w.com. And then the subject, we can just call it subject. And then the message, we can call it message, like that. And then after that, we can go ahead and submit our form. As you can see, the form is being submitted because the email is actually being sent. And then now you see we have success response. So basically that is how you can be able to create a package and be able to install it. And for these packages, you may have the things that you reuse in most of your applications. So whenever you create an application, maybe for a client or something of that sort, you are repeating some code through and through and through. It's a good place to create a package. And the best way in which you can be able to create a maintainable package is when the package you create is a package that solves your problem. So happy coding, guys. Go ahead and create these packages. Let us see what nice things you're going to come up with. Thank you very much for following this tutorial video up until this point. If you have not subscribed, please consider giving us a subscription. If you like the video, you can be able to give us a thumbs up. And if you have a comment, please do not forget to shoot in the comment section below. Thank you very much.